Second. There we go.
Coaches. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, they can't hold a flame against you, ay. Blow the whistle, blow the whistle, blow the whistle, got the game, it ain't no issue, yeah. Blowing the whistle, I had enough with you, the championship, it is gone. Ain't listen to you, I can't give it to you, cause you don't know what I've been on. This is the Coaches Podcast.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Coaches Podcast. I am your host, as always, everyone, Coach Steve. And we have another fantastic episode for us today, guys. We are talking wide receivers for Dynasty. This is a part one of two series here. My coaching staff has been drawn down to none today. None of the coaches are here today, but I did bring a very good friend of mine on the show today, Jorge Martin. How are you, my friend? Welcome into the show. How are you?
I'm doing great. Muy bien, muy bien. Bienvenidos, everybody. How you doing, everybody? All the coaches, fans, all the familia out there. I'm ready to talk some dynasty receivers, mi amigo, because every dynasty league you keep kicking my butt. So maybe I try and if you can't beat them, join them. Maybe I got to learn from you a little bit.
No. It doesn't help that you came in on an orphan team that was very bad, but it's okay. I got to draft my team at least. But yeah, guys, we are talking Dynasty tonight. We're going to talk Dynasty wide receivers. Coach Tyler will be back next week. He couldn't join on to the show, so it's no big deal. But the two of us are going to break down some Dynasty wide receivers. And if you've been following the show, like we did for the running backs, we started off with doing rookies. We talked about the rookies, and we'll talk about some free agencies. And things like that. So before we get to all that stuff, but I want to get into some other things real quick here, news-wise. One thing that we're going to talk about, I guess, heavily tonight, but we'll talk about it now, is T. Higgins. As you guys all know, over the weekend, T. Higgins did get its franchise tag, so he is, at least for now, a Cincinnati Bengal, unless he doesn't sign or if they do trade him. But Jorge, my friend, how do you feel about T. Higgins getting franchise tagged, and does this help or hurt his dynasty value?
Oh, I think it helps him. He's still catching passes from Joe Burrow. The tough part is that Jamar Chase is that man. He's going to be getting 10 plus targets a day. So you need Higgins to be making a lot of hay with 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 to occasionally 10 targets in a game. He's still got great talent, and he plays off of Chase really, really well. But you still like him. Would he be better if he, if he got traded to the Chargers and became and it's him and Keenan Allen, who's a very different type of receiver, maybe a little bit, but that's me wishful thinking. But I mean, T. Higgins is great. I mean, the other thing about him, he had some injuries last year that kept him out of several games, and he's going to want to kind of shed that injury, put that injury history behind him. I'm not going to say injury prone because, I still co-host that podcast with the injury prone podcast with Dr. Edward Porras, and he's threatened to wash my mouth out with soap if I ever use the term injury prone in anything but the context that he uses it in. So yeah, but he wants to. T. Higgins wants to actually. He's got to want to actually have a healthy 17-game season and just put up some big numbers to really go into free agency the right way. He didn't even get 700 yards last year, and that's not him.
No, not at all. I mean, I do like to throw the word injury prone on some players, and T. Higgins to me he doesn't fit injury prone, but he has definitely been frustrating for fantasy, especially over the last year and a half, 2 years. Obviously him missing time this coming season here, and it always seems like every few games, he'll play a game or two, he'll play 3 or 4 snaps, and then he's gone for the game. And it's like, wait, T. Higgins didn't play this game, but we started him. Definitely not thrilling on that. But yeah, him getting tagged definitely helps the Bengals, helps Joe Burrow, helps Jamar Chase. I don't know if it completely helps T. Higgins bring his unlocked true value in fantasy right now, because we've seen what he's been there with T. Higgins, with Jamar Chase. He's been a really solid wide receiver too. We all know he has the talent to potentially be a wide receiver 1, but he's probably not going to reach that level with them all together. I mean, it's possible. Joe Burrow could still have an amazing season. He still hasn't had that it season yet in his career, so it could be very, very possible. But If you're not liking him going back to the Bengals right now because you'd hope that he went somewhere else to get that wide receiver one job, this might be a good time to go out there and throw some trade offers at T. Higgins right now, because people know what he already is. We went to the Bengals. We know what he is. And there's still potential possibility that he gets traded, or maybe he doesn't want to sign that 1 year franchise tag. So it could be a good time to go out there and buy him right now, but he is tagged, and we lose one more wide receiver on the free agent market.
Yeah.
That sucks. I hate the franchise tag, honestly, but yeah.
Do you think Michael Pittman gets tagged?
It's possible. I hope he doesn't. But I mean, it would be very smart on the Colts part to bring a guy who's been fantastic for that organization. Other news, really, I think Derrick Henry's going to get tagged. I did see a tweet go out today that got deleted. And I was talking to somebody on one of my chats who knows some things, and he said that it's potential that Derrick Henry is going to get tagged, which would really suck. But I don't want to get ahead of myself, but that's just floating out there. So if you don't see that in the next couple of days, don't be too surprised. And then one last thing, Demarcus Robinson re-signed with the Rams. That's pretty interesting. How do you feel about Demarcus Robinson? I know he was really good at the end of the season. Is there some kind of value you find in him right now, Jorge?
I think he's more of a bench stash because really, I mean, if Cooper Kupp is healthy, you know that he and Puka Nacua are the 1 and 2 clear out there. But Robinson really showed a lot. He bypassed Tutu Atwell, obviously made sure, and he was a threat during the fantasy playoffs. I think he caught a touchdown either in every game or in 2 of the 3 games. And so he definitely helped some people who had to play him there at the end. I mean, the thing with the Rams, they were one of the most dynamic offenses at the end last year. Me being a Ram fan, it was great to watch that. And he was definitely a part of that. But clearly he's the number 3. And actually, if Kyron Williams is there, it's like they may be getting the same number of targets. If Kyron Williams is on the field as much as he was last year, they may be getting 5, 6, 7 targets each. And he's good, but I think he's more of a bench stash, someone that you want for depth, and in case something, as insurance, in case Cooper Kupp, who is on the other side of 30, maybe he misses some time, which he missed some time. He's missed time the last 2 years, so hopefully you get I want to see him get a healthy season, but yeah, I think Demarcus Robinson, it's going to be kind of it's going to be kind of tough for him to be a week to week contributor in fantasy.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I mean, yeah, he had double-digit fantasy points in 5 straight games. I know that last year I was like, oh, Robinson, he's been a hot, but I can't put him in my playoff lineup. And every week I regret it not putting him in my playoff lineup, but I continue not to play him in my lineups. But yeah, he had some decent games. He had a couple 10 target games there near the end of the season here. Again, he could be a good buy. It's probably a better sell if someone thinks that he's going to come back and see the work that he had last season at the end. I mean, it will probably depend on Cooper Kupp and how healthy he's going to be. The team could use a third pass catcher outside of the running game, because that Tyler Higbee probably won't be ready for the start of the season here. They might not have a reliable tight end. They could be the 3 of them catching 80 plus balls this year, or at least 80 plus targets this year, all 3 of them potentially. But if not, he could be a good sell. If someone wants to give up a second for him, early third, might be worth doing. He's already 29 years old. I don't expect him to have this breakout season in his career at this point. So, especially with the people in front of him. So,
yeah, it's a lot. It's a big hill to climb.
Exactly. But that's news-wise. That's really about it for right now. We'll know more as the season goes on. Obviously, the NFL Combine is catching up here. The salary cap got a $30 million increase, so it's a good crate for them. So more money being spent this offseason, bigger contracts. But we'll know more about the Combine and more about franchise tags and free agencies just around the corner. So let's get into some dynasty talk here. And we're going to start, obviously, with our rookie wide receivers from last year. And we'll start with the studs here. And the studs in this grouping here, and I grouped all these groups together, but the groups in this, I consider at least the studs of this class so far. There could be more, there could be less. People could think differently. But I have Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers, Rishi Rice, Puka Nacua, Jaden Reed, Tank Dell, and Jackson Smith in Jigba, whether or not he had the best season ever. But those are, I would say, at least at the moment, things could change, or at least the studs of this class so far, players who I think can all rise to be potential high-end wide receiver 2s, wide receiver 1s. Jorge, but the biggest question I want to know is, we all know that this class has some really good wide receivers coming out too right now. Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Rome Odumze. There's a lot of good wide receivers. And more than likely, depending on most rosters, Caleb Williams might go 1, or quarterback might go at least 1 overall. But if you're sitting here and someone's willing to give, would you give up any of these guys for the 102 right now? Would you move off of Marvin Harrison? Let's say that. Would you move off of Marvin Harrison and take one of these guys instead?
I don't think I can. I mean, Puka's fantastic. Puka's the only one that's going to make me think about it, because he was so good last year, and the field is ready for him to be the guy for several years. That the runway is out there. Some interesting guys. Rashee Rice is very good, and he can only get better. And he's playing with Patrick Mahomes. Maybe you can, but right now the 102 in most places that I'm seeing is either Marvin Harrison or one of the quarterbacks, either Drake May or Jaden Daniels. And right now they're talking about all the talk with the draft people. It's like they're fitting Marvin Harrison Jr. for his gold jacket already. They're just streamlining him straight to Canton. So I'm just like, if you want someone who could be a 10-year player in a dynasty league, I don't know if I'm giving up that. The 103, I'm starting to think about it though, because even in a super flex league, where you're going to be giving up, where you're going to be getting a quarterback there, the 103 makes you think about it. Definitely makes you think about it with, I think, Puka, Rice. I'm trying to think, maybe even Jaden Reed, because he was really coming on strong there at the end. Even though he had a very quiet game in the playoffs, the last game in San Francisco.
Yeah, no, that I like that answer there a lot. For Marvin Harrison, I feel like he's playing a scared game, not doing anything this offseason. No combine, no pro day. He's playing it very, very close to the wall here, and he's not going to be doing anything. So we're not going to even see anything from him this offseason, which is kind of sucks.
Not even an Ohio State pro day?
I think he said he wasn't going to do that either.
Wow.
He has no agent. He's not doing an agent from what I saw. No combine and no pro day. He's just going straight into the draft based off his production in college and his name value right now. So good for him. Because I feel like if anything, if you already feel like you're the top guy, why do anything to potentially hurt yourself from getting the top 3 pick? So he could go number 1 overall if the Bears say screw it. Well, it's just going to take the top receiver on the board. So yeah.
We're going to keep Justin Fields and go straight to the receiver and go straight to the. Oh, can you imagine him and DJ Moore? Oh.
That would be great. But back to the original question here. I think I'd rather have Marvin Harrison Jr. I think he's just an overall complete wide receiver that it will be coming into the league here. Someone who is very young and will have, like Jorge said, 10 plus years potentially in this league here. Rice and Puka, those guys are pretty close in terms of what I want to see. But Puka's already, I think, 24 this season, if I'm not mistaken. And so is Rashee Rice. I think Marvin Harrison's coming in at 21, 22, maybe. Yeah. So he's going to have at least 2 years on them. So I want that youth in my fantasy league right now, my dynasty league. So I'd be willing to give up these guys for the 102 personally right now. I wouldn't give up the 102 for these guys, but I would definitely give them up to get that 102 right now personally. Do any of these wide receivers here in this grouping, do they concern you at all? Taking steps back, someone who, they all had high moments of the season for the most part. Are any one of these guys, I'm not really overly thrilled with what I saw, and I don't know if it's going to get better.
I've got 3 wide receivers that I've got questions about on this. Zay Flowers, he had the I don't know what something he got. I don't know if he got arrested or there's some sort of some sort of record on him now, all of a sudden. So that gives me a little bit of concern. Could he? I know he's been cleared of anything as far as the law, but the NFL could give him a suspension. So that's what worries me there on him. Jordan Addison, the only concern that I have is if Kirk Cousins walks away with quarterback and they take a downgrade at quarterback. So I worry that it just, a new quarterback may just say, hey, you know what, I'm just going to focus all my efforts on Justin Jefferson and see what happens off of there. And the third one that I have, and it's not from a talent standpoint, it's more from a health standpoint, Tank Dell. I just heard a report today. I mean, he was fantastic. I thought he was incredible, and I would have loved to have seen what he would have done the remainder of the season had he not gotten hurt. After what we saw with Tony Pollard this past season, where he himself admittedly was not right until like week 11, those kind of leg injuries, I want to see that he is completely healthy going into the season, that he doesn't have any kind of setbacks, and that to me is the only worry on that one.
Yeah, no, I do like that. I do like those answers there on those concerning players, because I do have them pretty much similar for me personally. With Tank Dell, again, the size, all that, I know that he looked great in that, but is it something that can keep up for 6 or 7 years in the NFL? I don't know if he's able to do that. Another guy in Houston who was really good but had dealt with injuries over his career. And again, I'm not saying Tank Dell has injuries, was Will Fuller. Fantastic wide receiver when he was on the field and healthy, but he wasn't somebody that could stay on the field. I don't know if Tank Dell is someone who can take a pounding for an entire 17-game season throughout his career. Again, it was a weird injury that he had there. He probably shouldn't have been out there blocking. But his speed is part of his game, and if he's not going to be ready for the start of the 24 season, you might be getting a little bit of a regression in his production here. And Nico Collins is taking another step forward. And there's been so many rumors about a wide receiver going to Houston. Why would they need a wide receiver if they have the great core already? There's a reason for that, because they know that Tank Dell isn't going to be a wide receiver one for this league. He's going to be someone that's flashy and can have his moments. But I don't think he's a wide receiver one future there. I don't think there's a potential for wide receiver two. Obviously, he was a stud this year. Zay Flowers is another guy. I feel like, everyone was hyped on him early on in the season, but he really just didn't do too much. And he was still the number one target on the team there, and still didn't overly produce for me over the whole entire season here. He didn't have a high production value on his season. He had a lot of targets, but just never really did a lot with it. And I feel like it's just part of the offense that he's in there, that I just don't expect him to be a guy who, how many 1,000-yard wide receivers has Lamar Jackson's given somebody? One over his career? I think it was Marquise Brown a couple 3 or 4 years ago now. Like, there's a reason that he's using the tight ends. He's got 2 elite tight ends on the roster. He's going to continue to run the ball. A running back is going to go there and run the ball there. So Zay Flowers is another guy who I think could take steps back this season from production. I like the Jordan Addison thing. I really hope Kirk Cousins comes back, though. He was not good without Kirk Cousins. Please go back there, Kirk. But he looked good as the wide receiver one when Jefferson wasn't there. So I do like that about his game, but definitely love to have Kirk back there. So, all right.
I apologize. It seems like my light has gone out. So
that's okay. That's okay.
So I'm still here.
So the next listing here, we have more rookie. We're not running backs, but rookie wide receivers here. That's my fault. Some of these guys who I think had a lot of value going into the season, or flash, but not enough to really be considered studs. These guys in year 2 that could potentially step up, and you have Quentin Johnston, Jaden Hyatt, Jonathan Mingo, Marvin Mims, Josh Downs, and Demario Douglas here. And I put Demario Douglas on there because I do like Demario Douglas. He deserves to be in at least this tier and not the next couple rookie tiers. But who do you think out of this grouping who kind of didn't overly perform enough from year 1, who could take a big jump in year 2?
You know what? Jalen Hyatt's a guy that I'm going to keep an eye on out of this group. I just heard it during Super Bowl week. Saquon Barkley was doing an interview. I believe it was with Rich Eisen, and Barkley got asked, who's a player that he's keeping an eye on who might be ready to take a step forward, and he didn't hesitate and said Jalen Hyatt. He said that he's running every route and that he just has blinding speed. So he's a guy that I'm really going to keep an eye on out of this group. there's a part of me that's still holding out a candle for Quentin Johnston. Yeah. Justin Herbert needs help. He's going to need receiver. He's going to need healthy receivers. He's going to need an infusion of youth. I'm hoping. I didn't love what I saw. Too many drops, but yeah, I think I'd love to see it. That's kind of me wishful thinking. But the one that out of this group, right off the bat, is Jalen Hyatt.
I like it. A guy that I do like to take a year or two jump is Josh Downs.
Yes.
Again, it will kind of depend if Michael Pittman is there or not. His potential. He might be, might not be. But Josh Downs, again, he didn't have a great rapport with Anthony Richardson at first. A lot of his production did come with Gardner Minshew, but he showed production. And to me, he's going to be part of this offense here. In the second half of the season, things kind of fell apart for him. He was wide receiver 13 for like a good 6-game stretch. And then he got hurt and then just never really seemed to get things going in that Colts offense there. I think with this offseason being able to work with Richardson a lot more, trying to rebuild that rapport, he's someone that I think could take a big jump in year two. He's one of the few guys on this list that showed some kind of consistency at a certain point of the season here. And I'd like to see him take that year two jump. Let's go to a more negative question here. Which of these guys are you looking to get off of now? It sucks, they didn't really have that opportunity, but who is someone that, I'd rather probably not really invest in, or if I could sell off now, I'd look to do that.
I'm very concerned with Jonathan Mingo. I did not like what I saw out of him last year, and they're going to try and rebuild Bryce Young with the new coaching staff, and I'm not very confident that Mingo is going to be able to take a step forward along with Bryce Young. I hope there's more than I hope they got more in the tank than Adam Thielen, but Jonathan Mingo is the guy that I'm a little bit worried about.
I like it. I'm going to go with Marvin Mims, and I hate to say it because I was really high on Marvin Mims coming out. But to me, this whole situation in Denver just seems very shaky right there. They don't really have a good offense in general. They might be moving off Russell Wilson. They might be having, Jarrett Stidham to be their starting quarterback for the 24th season here, and why they try to figure out their quarterback situation here. Yeah, Mims, he flashed at times, but there has to be some kind of reason why you're not using a guy with that kind of speed on your offense here. And I feel like if I could get a second-round pick for him still now with this wide receiver class coming in, who has a lot of talent, it's really a deep class here, that if I can get a mid-second round pick for Marvin Mims still, because I think a lot of people are still high on him, I might consider doing that, because I think there's still potential that I can get a really good player out of it. And Marvin Mims was a mid to late second anyway, so his value hasn't dropped because I think a lot of people still like him. So I'd rather move off that situation, because Jerry Jeudy could still be there. Their offense could just not look very good. And Marvin Mims, if he has another bad season, he's just going to drop in value, and it would really suck.
Oh man, and he had some beautiful.
Early on the season, he was good. A couple games, he looked really good, but
it was just you saw. He was such a deep threat. I think his yards per route run was something ridiculous, 7 or something like that. After he'd go 3 catches and 100 yards because he had a 70-yarder for a touchdown. So, but yeah, he just disappeared at the end. And yeah, you're right. I have bad vibes for what's going on with that quarterback situation.
He had 195 yards in the first 3 games, then 182 yards in the final 13. How do you not get this man on the field more? It just didn't make sense.
That's painful.
Yeah. So, all right. So last question in this round here, are any of these guys worth second round picks for you still? Are you willing to give up a second round pick to acquire any of these guys?
Just because of the first round draft capital, Quentin Johnston, and because of the quarterback. That's the one thing. I wonder if with Jim Harbaugh coming in that maybe they just work him into becoming a viable wide receiver. So that's the one. That it's a dart throw. I wouldn't give up a second round pick in the first half of the round. It'd be more in the back half of the round, because I think there's going to be some receivers still who I'd probably want to have more in the early, who are going to be available in the early second round. And you know what? There's going to be a lot of running backs that may be going late first round, early second round that may do something this year.
Agreed. Yeah, especially if they land in the right spots, it's going to be a lot of round 2 RBs. Yeah, I mean Quentin Johnson in the back half for sure, because he was my wide receiver 1 going into the draft last year. So I do have some likability to his game still that I did like before he was even drafted. I know things didn't work out right for him, but I know he's still someone I'd willing to at least try one more time. But obviously, late second, Josh Downs, late second, I'd still be okay with.
Yeah, I could see that.
If someone wants to buy into Marvin Mims, go for it for a late second. Again, I'd be looking to get the late second right now. But the rest of the guys, 3rd round picks, I'm not really too high on everyone else overall. So. All right, and then the next grouping here we have some more rookies. There's a lot of rookies in this class here, but again, this grouping here we have the Cedric Tillmans, A.T. Perrys, the Tyler Scotts, Xavier Hutchinson, Michael Wilsons, and the Trey Tucker. There's so many rookies last year that kind of flashed but didn't really flash enough. Out of the grouping there, Jorge, are you buying low on any of these guys?
I think A.T. Perry out of this group. Some catch some touchdowns. It looked like he started to build some rapport with Derek Carr there at the end of the season. So and bringing in Kubiak to start to call the plays. Maybe he's able to unlock something in Derek Carr a little bit more, kind of unlock the offense. And so looking at him, secondarily, maybe Michael Wilson, if he could stay on the field, because let's hope and pray that the Cardinals can get Marvin Harrison Jr. so that Kyler Murray has somebody to throw to, but he's going to need more than that. And I mean, I know Trey McBride was also very good, but they might need a wide receiver too on that side, and Michael Wilson might be able to play off of Marvin Harrison, which could be pretty cool. Could be 2 big wide receivers kind of doing damage.
I like that. Yeah, Michael Wilson was definitely one guy that I was really high on during the season here. And I don't think Hollywood Brown comes back to this Cardinals team. I think they move on from that situation here. And again, they don't have anyone outside of Trey McBride right now. So Michael Wilson has a shot. Again, they might draft one of the wide receivers, which is likely they do. But Michael Wilson has a good shot to do something really well and see a big jump in targets. So he's someone else I really like. Cedric Tillman, I'd be interested to see him take over that, outside role for that Browns offense if Deshaun Watson's going to come back. Again, he had a couple decent games at over 40 yards, but, with Watson's on the field, things could be a little different. I know Joe Flacco's airing the ball out, but, Amari Cooper's getting older. Elijah Moore seems more and more like a bust. Tillman could be a good buy low option right now for an offense that may not have a strong run game next year and maybe looking to try to throw the ball a little bit more. So, and then another one of these rookie wide receivers, not running backs, the Trey Palmer, the Parker Washington, Charlie Jones, Hakeem Jarrett, the Davtanian Wicks, Jake Bobo, Xavier Gibson, Andres Akushu. I can't even say his last name. Yosevich. Thank you. I'm terrible with names. I apologize in advance. Again, another group of young wide receivers from this rookie class here that flashed to some extent. Anyone here you're looking to buy low on?
Maybe not buy low on him in Dynasty, but I definitely want a Jake Bobo jersey. So just to say Bobo on the back of the name. Out of this group, Dontavian Wicks is a guy that's very intriguing to me. I think that Green Bay offense is really, really jumping up. I think they're going to be good. And Wicks flashed there at the end, had a couple of good games. He had a 100-yard game there at the end of the season. And that's going to be a tough thing. That's going to be a tough offense to kind of figure out a little bit early on in the season, especially during the draft season. I think we're going to want to wish Jaden Reed is the wide receiver 1, but Christian Watson had some great, had some great games the year before. Had a couple of, had some good long touchdowns last year. And then Romeo Doubs is also really good, but yeah, I think there's going to be a big 4 receivers, and I think Wicks is a guy that I like him from a talent standpoint, and also another thing that I saw people were talking about his blocking, and his blocking in the run game, and that gets you on the field. That keeps you on the field. And I think when a guy is that kind of well-rounded, I think that's something to keep an eye on.
No, I like that one there. I like Wilkes a lot. I mean, it's tough because I feel like a lot of people were high on him at the end of the season here, and again, it's a tough offense, even though it's going to be really hopefully good offense. But a 20-25 second is that too much to ask for?
Ooh,
it could end up being really good, So like, it could be a situation like he looked better than Watson on the field this season. I mean, Watson's, I don't know what's going to happen with him. There's a lot of wide receivers in this grouping here. How would you give up a 25 second to see what this guy's got to offer?
I think I would throw that out there, a 20-25 second for Dontavian Wicks. I think so, especially if I need, take some shots with the wide receiver this year. And actually it could be something where I just take a chance on, make that offer after the draft, after the rookie draft.
That's fair.
And so that's something, if I didn't get the guy, if I didn't get enough wide receiver depth, maybe I take the shot at that point. So that's just something to think about there.
Yeah, the 25 seconds, it's not the best, but for a guy that has potential upside, I don't think you're doing it for a third. I think people understand what he has to potentially offer, and I don't think you're going to get somebody, unless they know nothing about Dynasty, a third round pickup for Wilkes right now. It might be a 25 second, which isn't terrible. Even a 2026 second isn't terrible either. I'd be willing to do it because he showed, at least top 30 wide receiver upside, even with half the guys on the field besides Watson, obviously, and Watson returning could hurt his value. And it definitely did not make his value all season. When Watson was on the field, Wilkes was not on the field or not doing enough as we wanted. But, we'll see what this offense has to offer. I mean, Wilkes could, not talent, but hard play sometimes wins out. Even if the talents might be better somewhere else in terms of athletic, physical talent, if you're playing well, you're going to get on the field, and Wilkes could find himself on the field this season. So Trey Palmer is also definitely interesting if he sees a larger role in that Bucs offense there. If T. Higgins isn't there, one of the Bengals wide receivers could be interesting. I think Tyler Boyd is likely going to be gone this offseason, so some of those guys are definitely interesting. If you want a Jake Bobo jersey, just go out and get one now. Why wait?
I love it. All
right. And then, of course, our little halftime here real quick. Some promos. Yeah. Obviously, you guys know I do write with Dynasty Nerds in my spare time when I can. Obviously, they have a fantastic tool over the Dynasty Nerds GM. Really cool tool to kind of see where you're at in your league here, do trades, all kinds of things. It really helps your whole Dynasty experience out. And again, use our promo code COACH. You help them out. You help us out. I think you get like a little discount on that there. But, it's a great tool that you should definitely take advantage of. You also get the film room, which is fantastic for scouting film. A lot of cool different features with the Nerd Herd episodes and things like that. So it's definitely cool to check out. And of course, Did It. It's a an app that I work with. I partnered up with this season here, and it was a lot of fun. It's basically, if you're looking for more of a personalized experience with your fantasy football, you get a little one-on-one conversation to kind of break down your teams here. You can show your team to the individual me, and talk about what you're looking to do, whether it's a dynasty trade, a bet, waiver wires, starts and sits. We helped a lot of people out in last season here, try to win weeks, and I was on the app every Sunday. So it's a great app that Did It. Download it today, and then throw me a chat, and I'll help you try to win some championships. So, all right, let's get back into some wide receiver talk here now. So now we're talking about free agents. We went through all the rookies of 2023. Now we're talking about the 2024 free agents. And I'm talking about, and there's only 2 slides here because there's not a lot of good wide receivers. It's not a deep wide receiver class in terms of free agencies. But there are all a couple stars. Fortunately, T. Higgins got tagged, so we really don't count him too well in terms of the situation. But Mike Evans, Calvin Ridley, Michael Pittman Jr., all the stars of this class here. And are they better buys or better sells right now, Jorge?
You know what? I think you could buy Mike Evans right now because I think some people are even coming off a great season. People are going to look at the you can actually say, hey, you know what, I'm just going for this year, and and maybe trade a little bit less than would have for Mike Evans if he were 24. So I think there's something. So I think Mike Evans could end up becoming a bargain because of the fact that he's aged. And you know what? He was fantastic last year. And if he comes back to Tampa Bay or wherever he ends up next year, it's likely going to be he's going to be with a good quarterback, because I don't think he's going to walk away from Tampa Bay unless he goes to a team with a good quarterback. He's not just looking for money at this point. So I think he could be a sneaky buy just because you could play off the age.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, I think for me overall, I think Michael Pittman's overall good sell before free agency hits. I think people might think he ends up with a better team than what he was on this season here. I do have my overall concerns with Anthony Richardson as a passer, an accurate passer overall. And I don't know if Michael Pittman's going to be a guy that's going to see a high not target share, but a high reception total at the end of every season moving forward with his play. I do believe they try to bring in more. Jonathan Taylor is going to be back this season here. They're going to bring in other pass catchers. And again, Anthony Richardson's going to run. They're not going to have Gardner Minshew throwing the ball, 45 times a game. It's going to be Anthony Richardson running the ball a ton. And, I was concerned about Pittman last year, and it obviously didn't work out because he actually ended up having a really good receiving season. But the touchdowns have been low on him overall in his career. So it was like 1.644. He's not a high touchdown machine guy. He got the yardage this past year, which is great. I think it's a good time to sell. Calvin Ridley's if you believe that he lands in the right spot, it's a good buy because people are just giving him up for second-round picks right now. I've been getting trades.
Oh my goodness!
I mean, people sending me trades for a second-round pick for I can get Calvin Ridley, and it depends on my situation. I haven't done it in every single league, but no one's valuing very well. He's had 1,000 yards this past season here. Whether or not
8 touchdowns too.
Yeah, he had a decent touchdown, and he's 30, but he could be an easier buy right now. Like you said, Mike Evans is a decent buy. Would you be willing to give up a mid-first for any of these players right now?
Mid-first, no.
Late first for Michael Pittman.
Late first for Michael Pittman because he's still young. He's still on the young curve. I mean, Calvin Ridley I believe is 29, which it feels like he should be like 25 or 26 right now. But yeah, Pittman, because of the age and hoping that Anthony Richardson can grow as a passer. I'm talking about beyond this season. I think he could. I think he could become better. Become a better target for him. I think he will continue to be the primary target for him.
Yeah, I think a late first is a pretty overall fair trade for Michael Pittman. You're getting good value for a guy who's still relatively young. Like I said, I believe in selling him, but in terms of value, it's definitely decent value there. I don't think I'd give up a first for Mike Evans or Calvin Ridley whatsoever right now. They're older players. You don't want to do that whatsoever.
Does the fact that T. Higgins is still fairly young? Let me look and see how old he is.
I think he just turned 25. I want to say.
Yeah, I mean, are you giving up a mid first for T. Higgins? I kind of just went over because we talked about T. Higgins a bunch, but you're giving up a mid first for T. Higgins. I'd be maybe a late first. I'd be very intrigued by that.
I'd be 25 this year.
Yeah, I mean that to me is young.
Definitely take a mid first for T. Higgins right now. If someone wants to give me a mid first for T. Higgins, absolutely. If I can get a late first, I don't know. I might want to have T. Higgins a little bit more. It will depend on landing spots with the draft, but right now, I probably would want to lean Higgins than having a late first, but a mid first. Give me the mid first all day.
And literally, he just turned 25 a month ago. So age 25 season. Yeah, I think I'm giving up. I think I'm giving up a pick in like the 7 to 12 range for him.
I respect it. Yeah, I think after pick 7 for me, I think where you could have that conversation for sure. But those top 7 picks, as of right now, I think I'd still rather have over T. Higgins.
Yeah, I think the first 6 picks are the 3 quarterbacks and the 3 receivers. Maybe somebody gets wild hair and wants to, if JJ McCarthy lands in the right spot, they can.
I like Brock Bowers too a little bit for that tight end.
Oh, Brock Bowers. Yeah, you got to go. Yeah, maybe go beyond 7. Yeah, you're right.
9, that
Yeah.
range. Yeah, right
Yeah,
after
8 to 12. Maybe 8 to 12.
where T. Higgins
8 or
shines.
9 to 12. Yeah, that's his range. That's his jam.
Exactly. And then over to our last slide of the night. These are free agent wide receivers, wide receiver 2s, wide receiver 3s. Again, this is not a great class. Like I said, one's already tagged. We could have more. People could re-sign still. In this class here, you have this area here. You have the Odell Beckhams, the Marquise Brown, the Gabe Davis, J.K. Osborne, Darnell Mooney, Rashad Rashid, Noah Brown, Tyler Boyd's, Curtis Samuel. This is the crop of wide receivers that are that next tier that could fill in as a wide receiver 2, better wide receiver 3s. Jorge, is there one player you like to grab before they sign? Make their talent worthy where they could potentially go.
I mean, you know what? If it's like a 3rd round pick, I'd do it for Curtis Samuel just because he flashed a little bit last year. There's a part of me that just would want to do it because Cooter Doodle is kind of a friend and she's a big Rashid Shaheed fan. So I'd want to actually take a screenshot of it and tag her on a tweet. So just get her approval there.
I like that. I like Curtis Samuel as a pick there. I still want to bind Gabe Davis. I feel like this is just a train I'm never going to give up on. But if Gabe Davis can find himself in a more consistent situation, maybe there's potential for him and he doesn't just get looked at as a guy who can really block very well. Like if you look at his games, he's the most boomer bust wide receiver I've seen ever. He had 7 games of 16 plus fantasy points. And then he had 9 games where he combined for 9.8 fantasy points. Not averaged. He combined in 9 games. But you had those 7 games plus 16 plus fantasy points. And they weren't like 2 catches for 100 yards. He had some 5 catches for 90 yards and a touchdown games. Like he had good games. And I know he was already tied to a fantastic offense. But that offense is, it doesn't go through Gabe Davis. It's never going to go through Gabe Davis, unfortunately. Right now, it's a mixer of Stephon Diggs, and it's going to probably go to Dalton Kincaid soon enough. But it's never going to run through Gabe Davis. And Gabe Davis, I'd like to buy him now before he signs. It might be risky, but if he lands in a situation where he could thrive a little bit better, I want to do that because he's only 25 still. He's going to be 25 going in this season here. He still has enough youth to kind of bounce back and have some good games over his back half of his career or his prime years as a wide receiver.
Is there a dream landing spot for him?
Oh, a dream landing spot? I don't know if there's a dream landing spot. That's a good question, honestly.
I'm trying to think.
I'm trying to think where it would be really good for him to go. I mean, Tennessee could use a downfield threat. Gabe Davis could offer that. Will Levis has the arm.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like him in Carolina. I wouldn't like him in New York. I mean, it would be interesting if maybe he lands at the Jets and Aaron Rodgers potentially. I don't know. I don't know if I like that much, but I don't hate Tennessee. If maybe the Bucks want to have their own new Mike Evans kind of vibe, that could be a situation there with Baker. If they don't bring back Evans, you can have Davis there then.
I think I got one for you.
What you got?
Dallas.
Dallas would be
they
interesting.
need a number 2 behind CD.
They do. I don't know if I think they still have both Brandon Cooks though and Michael Gallup, and they might be cut. Maybe I think there might be some cut potential there. I know Michael Gallup has failed us since that big signing he had a couple years ago, and Brandon Cooks is already. I think he's gonna be 31 this year. I think Brandon Cooks, or he's gonna be 30 this year, something like that. He's still. I don't know how young. I can't be. He's been in the league for so long, but he's so young. Wild. But yeah, that'd be interesting. In this grouping here, who would you need to see find a home first before you consider buying into them?
Marquise Brown.
Okay.
Just because if he stays healthy, he could become someone's deep threat.
Like
If
that.
it's if he ends up with a big arm quarterback, I think where they've got another primary receiver. I mean, Atlanta could be a place that if they could get Justin Fields, and then all of a sudden you've got Drake London, playing off of Drake London, that could be an interesting play. So Marquise Brown would become a little more sexy for me at that point.
I like that. I mean, Rashard Rasheed's a restricted free agent. He probably shouldn't really be on this list that much. I think he goes back to the Saints. I'd like to make sure he goes back to the Saints first, but
yeah.
Darnell Mooney is definitely another guy that I would like to see maybe if a new change of scenery helps his value overall. If he lands somewhere where like, okay, I could see him being their actual downfield threat on that team. He hasn't really done that the last few years, obviously with Chicago now. That'd be a guy I'd want to see where he lands before I'd even consider buying to him. Are you giving up an early third or round pick for any of these guys right now?
Right now, maybe Brown, maybe Samuel, but that's it. I'm not doing. I love Odell Beckham Jr., but the injuries are just starting to pile up to him. Pile up too much for him.
I get that. Yeah. Yeah, Brown, I'd give up an early 30s. I think I might even give up a late second, depending on where he lands. Curtis Samuel, early third's fine. Rashard Rasheed, definitely an early third. Gabe Davis, I'm still willing to give him an early third for him. Everyone else, though, I'm kind of just don't really care. J.K. Osborne has just really upset me this past year, being absolutely nothing. But yeah.
But didn't you think that was going to happen with Jordan Addison signing there?
I just figured, it was his time to shine, but he got even worse once Jefferson was gone. That's the thing. Yeah. He was putting up some decent, not great, but maybe wide receiver 4 value. And then Jefferson left, and then he just completely disappeared from that offense there. But yeah, so it kind of sucks in that sense there. But oh man, Jorge, that's all I got for you tonight, my friend. That is the first part of my wide receiver previews for Dynasty right now. So I hope you enjoyed the show.
I had a blast. Hey, you know what? Yeah, I can't imagine. I feel like we hit everybody.
We did. We really did, actually. Which is great. Maybe I should have added more to the list. I don't know. Maybe next time. I'll make sure next time I'll add as much as possible and we'll get through it. So I was not expecting us to have 2 people. So that didn't help though. So
fewer arguments that way.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. Yes. But I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. This was obviously a fantastic episode. I love doing this podcast with my friend here. And Jorge, if there's anything you got going on, if there's anything you want to mention, man, I will give you the floor, my friend.
Well, first off, thank you again for having me, Stephen. I always love hanging out with you. Just a good time. Hey to all the coaches out there. Also, check out my work on Yahoo Fantasy. This week, I'm going to be having a little something on the NFL Combine, but I'm kind of flip-flopping right now between baseball and football. So check that out there. And I just started on my Familia FFB podcast. I just sat down with Jeff Bell of Football Guys, and we just kind of talked about the wide receiver prospects. I'm going to be hitting the wide receivers and Brock Bowers. And then because I didn't want to do a full tight end episode, because basically Brock Bowers is the only guy worth drafting for fantasy. But I'm also going to do the running backs and the quarterbacks and do some other content, and also going to be kicking back off with Dr. Edwin Porras on the Injury Prone podcast. We're going to be doing some episodes about every other week throughout the off season. So talking a little bit about lessons learned, talking about injury timelines for players. So a lot of good stuff coming up. So and then once again, mi amigo, muchas gracias. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And if you guys aren't already tuning into his work, please do so. He's a good friend of mine. He's a nice guy. Help him out. Check out his stuff. I love getting that chance when I get in there and watch his episodes and read his articles. I love doing that. So, but we thank you guys, for tuning in, whether you're listening live on our YouTube channel or if you're listening to this afterwards on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast. We appreciate you guys. Obviously, we're just trying to help you guys get a better understanding of where their dynasty values are for all these players this offseason here. Like I said, we'll be back next week talking the second half of wide receivers. We'll have Coach Tyler back. We'll have another guest on the show. We'll probably, I don't know when I think we're airing at 6 p.m. again next week. So But we're going to be on and off different times throughout the off season here. You know, we want to get as many people as we can on, especially our guests and our friends on the show here. That you know, we want to have as many people, many different kinds of thoughts on a lot of these dynasty players here. So, you know, we appreciate you guys all for tuning in. Tune back in next Monday, guys, when we have another fantastic episode for you. Until then, guys, have a good one.
Back to back is not far-fetched.